This is the whole idea of the process, that the newcomers are more prepared and they are really able to sustain the pressures of membership once they are in the European Union. But in practical terms, it has been a sort of uncharted waters for both sides. And we have seen that not only Croatia was going through a new phase, but also at the EU side there were quite a few uncertainties in terms of the methodology and the new process. The major novelty compared to the previous enlargements was the notion of the opening benchmarks. And these opening benchmarks, before they are fulfilled, one has to agree on them on the EU side, and the applicant country has to undertake quite a number of concrete measures internally before being in the position to open actually some of those chapters. Besides the new methodology and the institutional crisis, we were then also in the context of the biggest financial and economic crisis that hit Europe. So only a few years later, when we were sort of well on our way, we had this particular burden as a contextual element defining Croatia's road to the European Union. Even last year, when we look at the last couple of months with the crisis of the euro, with the situation in Greece, none of these elements were really enlargement friendly. And we always saw, as soon as there was a problem in the European Union, the mantra no institutional reform, no enlargement was quickly in the air in the political circles, not only in Brussels but in many EU capitals as well. So this is not an excuse, this is just an explanation of a particular context that we were undergoing in the last couple of years. Another important element is also that the EU has stopped its policy of promising the dates, even though it is quite sensible not to fix the dates which perhaps then cannot be fulfilled as a promise, but at the same time, as in other areas of life, dates are good motivation. So for us, being in the process of the negotiations without really knowing when the process is supposed to end, I wouldn't say this was actually an element which facilitated our efforts in the last couple of years. Perhaps it would have been easier if we had seen some sort of a deadline in the future given to us in a more precise manner, but the enlargement strategy adopted in 2006, which sort of put back the notion of the absorption capacity, which was the fourth criteria back from '93 in Copenhagen, in a way said that no dates will be promised to the applicant countries in the future enlargements. Another element which is often mentioned in the process of our negotiations is that the quality should not be sacrificed over speed. And I've seen this sentence many times already in the last 2.5 months in Zagreb, and it usually comes from those diplomats or experts who follow Croatia for a relatively short period of time, for a year or 2 or 3 years, and from their perspective it is indeed understandable that such a notion makes sense. But from our own point of view, when we know that the main objectives that we have today were with us also in the 90s, and they were with us the entire decade that is now behind us, we believe that speed is, if not more, but then at least equally important as quality. And given the fact that our negotiations will in October be able to commemorate the 5th anniversary, then certainly compared to the other enlargements we cannot say that we are enjoying some sort of an extraordinary speed in the accession process. Where are we today? Today we are in the situation that out of 35 chapters, Croatia has opened 30, we have provisionally closed 18. Our ambition is to open the Chapter 8, which is competition, Chapter 23, judiciary and fundamental freedoms, and Chapter 31, CFSP, hopefully by the end of June. If that does not happen, at least before the summer break, that is to say during the first month of the Belgian presidency. The Chapter 16 on taxation is ready for provisional closure, and we believe it will be on the agenda at the IGC at the end of the month. And we hope that at least another 3 or 4 chapters will be ready for provisional closure during the month of July, not June but July, during the Belgian presidency. The following weeks are also important for Croatia because we are currently undergoing the process of the constitutional reform. As many countries who have joined the EU, we are in the position also to adapt our constitution to the new reality, not only to identify and clarify the legal basis for accession, but also to clarify the various provisions regarding the application of EU law, the role of various Croatian institutions in the decision-making process on the EU level, the relationship between the Parliament and the government, and also to clarify the provisions regarding the referendum for the accession in Croatia. Because already 8 years ago we have made a political commitment to hold the referendum on accession once this particular moment arises, and the idea is to hold this referendum sometime before the actual signature of the accession treaty. There has been a declaration of the Croatian Parliament adopted back in 2005 which states that the referendum should be held before the accession treaty. Some of the countries had a different practice, holding the referendum after, but some of the countries, actually the smaller number of the recent new members, held it also before the signing of the accession treaty. In any event, the majority required will be the simple majority of those who will be actually turning out to vote at this particular referendum. And this is one of the great challenges for Croatian public. We need to inform our citizens what the EU is today, what have we managed to achieve through the negotiation process, and what impact on the Croatian citizens the membership will have in the years to come. The important aspect of our accession also is the, I would say, financial part. The European Commission has prepared the communication regarding the financial package accompanying our negotiations. They published this document last autumn. The Council has also pronounced itself on this particular document for the years 2012 and 2013, that is to say within the current financial perspective. The Commission was planning to allocate to Croatia in total 3.5 billion euros. Given the fact that this figure is in the air, is in the public, it has created a lot of expectations in Croatia. I was running the campaign of the European Week just a month ago, and I visited 8 of our 20 counties in 5 days, and most of the questions which were addressed to the panel at the time was how can we prepare projects, how can we use the pre-accession funds, how can we prepare ourselves for the structural and cohesion fund. These are the elements which interest a man on the street, and this is a great task for the Croatian administration. We have a special office which deals with the EU funds and the wider strategy for the development of Croatia, which is in charge of coordinating the efforts vis-à-vis the pre-accession and in the future the accession funds. But also we have a Ministry of Regional Development who has an important role to combine together with the Agency for Regional Development and their county branches to help individual companies, individual entities to prepare potential projects that could be funded by the EU funds. This is really an important aspect of our EU negotiation process.